Welcome to the PRSS 120 Provider Portal Overview Training Session. During this session, we'll show you how to navigate the Provider Portal. Then we'll show you how to access provider functions, maintain provider profile data, update provider enrollment information, and manage delegate access. My name is Melanie, and I will be guiding you through this session. Our agenda today, we will give a brief welcome and opening. We will go over Provider Portal Access and Overview. We will do a portal overview. We will go over the My Account profile, managing delegates, managing my information, revalidation, and then we will wrap everything up. Our learning objectives today in the Provider Portal Overview session, we wish to understand basic navigation of the Provider Portal. We will identify which tasks are accessed from the Provider Portal but are completed in other systems, and we will go over how to manage provider information. Our first section is a Provider Portal Access and Overview. We will do a Provider Portal overview. We will go over credentials and how to access and switch providers. So the Provider Portal is a self-service tool that provides healthcare-related information to providers and users authorized by providers. Within this portal, a provider can communicate with PRSS clerks as well as access claim information, check member eligibility, or update their provider information. Provider Portal Maintenance is a self-service module within the Provider Portal used to view and maintain provider information such as addresses, associations, billing information, and delegate access. There are various roles that can be assigned within the portal. Let's take a look at these now. If you are the provider, you have a few options depending on the level of control you want over your information and tasks performed on your behalf. If you are an individual provider, you can directly assign and manage delegates to perform tasks such as submitting claims on your behalf. If you don't want to manage those delegates yourself, you can assign a delegate administrator to manage them on your behalf. This administrator can also perform tasks that the delegates do. If you are an individual provider within a group of providers and don't want to perform the administrative work yourself or assign and manage delegates, you have the option to assign an authorized administrator who will maintain all your provider account information and tasks. During enrollment, this provider type has the choice to opt out of portal access and rely solely on that administrator for all updates and processing of tasks. Existing IG providers will automatically be registered to access the portal, even if they decide to fully leverage that administrator for such tasks. So keep these roles in mind because the authorized administrator and delegates who work on behalf of more than one provider will see something slightly different when they log into the portal. So the primary account holder, or PAH, is a term often used for existing providers or MCOs who used one email address to perform all tasks in the previous system. In the new PRSS provider and MCO portals, each user must have an individual email address for added security. So the term PAH will not have a direct correlation to the roles within PRSS. Also, each MCO will have one primary account holder, or PAH, whose credentials will be created by Gainwell. The PAH will then need to create delegates. So before you can access the portal, you will first need your MES credentials. If you are a current provider, you will already have access to the provider portal in PRSS using your MES credentials you received via email. Although your information was transferred to the new system, you will need to reassign your delegates and authorized administrator to your profile. For more information on managing delegates, attend the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management training session. If you are a newly enrolling provider, you will receive MES credentials via email after your VA Medicaid enrollment is approved. Credentials are delivered in two distinct registration emails. The first email includes your user ID and a hyperlink to access registration for Provider Portal. The second email will include your temporary password. If you have multiple service locations, you will only receive email credentials for the first service location because registration is only completed once. Now, let's see what the provider portal looks like. You will always start at the secure MES login page, and you can find a hyperlink to this page from your first email. I won't be able to demo this part because the training environment isn't connected to MES, but we'll show you what it will look like when you go in to do this. So on the MES login page, you'll enter your MES credentials. If you are a current user, you will log into MES with your current credentials and click Sign In. If you are a new user, you'll enter the emailed user ID and temporary password and click Sign In. If this is the first time you are logging into the portal, it will ask you to change your temporary password. Enter your temporary password as your current password. Then create a new password and confirm it. Then click Set Password. Then you'll scroll to the bottom of the MES landing page and use the arrow to show the PRSS links on the Provider Management tile. From there, you will click the PRSS link. When you click that link, it will take you to the provider portal. So let's log in to the training environment so you can see what it will look like. All right, so we will go ahead and log into the training environment. Now, when a delegate logs in and works on behalf of more than one provider, the Switch Provider window appears. This allows the delegate to switch between providers. So we will go ahead and pick our provider and click Submit. Now, if you are assigned to more than one service location for the provider, a window with the service locations appears. Otherwise, you will be taken to the home page. So let's select a location to continue. Now, let's say you've finished working for this provider and you want to switch to perform some tasks on behalf of another provider. You can do that by clicking this link in the top right area of the bar. If you are a delegate, it will say Go to Switch Provider. If you are a delegate who is assigned as the authorized administrator, this will say Go to Switch Associated Provider. So we will go ahead and select that, and then we will select our other provider, and we will select Submit. Now, the system didn't ask me to select a location this time before displaying the home page because this delegate only has one service location. So in our next section, we will do a portal overview. We will go over the at a glance bar. We will take a look at the navigation menu, the message center, the module tiles, and we will take a look at the live help option. So let's log back into the training environment as a provider this time and look at what the portal has to offer. All right, so once we're at our home page, I want to point out the at a glance bar, this bar here. It's located at the top of every page, and the at a glance bar provides a list of all available functions from the current window. So over here to the right in the at a glance bar, we have our Messages tab, which displays broadcast messages related to system outages, system upgrades, new features, and important information messages. Broadcast messages display when you log in and are organized by the highest priority, then sorted by the effective date with the most recent date first, and then alphabetically by message text. Any messages that need to be acknowledged are considered highest priority and thus display at the top of current messages. Select the red checkbox to acknowledge. Next to the Messages tab, we have our Contact Us tab, which displays contact information for the provider to contact support via email, phone, and mail. Next, we have our FAQ, or Frequently Asked Questions tab, which displays questions and answers related to commonly asked questions about information within the portal. Next to that, we have our Portal Help, and that enables us to view help topics about portal functionality and the kind of information available. Help will appear in a new window. Next, we have our navigation menu here. This menu will only show features that you are authorized to access. The menu provides links to redirect you to the familiar eligibility, claims, LTC, payment history, and service authorization systems. Over here in the left, we have our Message Center. The Message Center feature allows you to send, receive, and track secure messages to and from PRSS enrollment and management clerks. This is different than the messages from the at-a-glance bar, which are informational and appear for all applicable providers. The Message Center tile displays the message count and links to view and send messages. So if we were going to enter our inbox, we would click View Messages Now, hyperlink, and our inbox window appears. We would select Create New to create a new message, and the Create Secure Message window appears. And I want to note that if we had selected the provider with a single service location, the provider location here would be the provider we selected in the switch provider selection process. The messages created here are between DMAS and the provider. So if you have more than one service location, you would select the applicable location from the drop-down field. The contact information is linked to your My Account profile and cannot be changed. Category and subject are required, and direct your message to the appropriate PRSS enrollment and clerk. So when a category is selected, the reason code drop-down appears. And anything with a blue asterisk in the left-hand corner is a required field. Once we have all of our information entered, we would go ahead and click Submit, and a confirmation message appears. To view our message, we would click Send, and our message was right here in our sent box, the message that we just created. To go back to the home page, we would click Back to Messages, and then return to home page. We can also click the Provider Portal up here in the left-hand corner, and that will take us to our home page at any point. So these are the module tiles. These are quick access features related to features on the navigation menu and are available on the Provider Portal secure homepage. Only modules that you are authorized to access will display. The tiles will redirect you to an external resource which appears in a new window. Over here on the right-hand side, we have our Helpful Links section that includes quick access to supporting resources. I want to point out the Live Help option down here at the bottom. It is an online service that allows you to chat in real time with PRSS enrollment and management clerks. Live Help provides instant online support. When you click the link, a chat window will pop up. You would complete the fields to start a chat during business hours or submit a question after hours for review on the next business day. I also want to point out there is a resources link up here at the top. This module allows you to download documents related to maintaining your provider information, such as change request letters, remittance advice or RA notices, and revalidation notices. I also want to point out the logout function in the top right of the at-a-glance bar. And I want to remind you to log This is also where we would manage our authorized administrator. There would be an option here to adjust that. This feature will only display for individual within a group providers. The next window we have is our credentials window. The Credentials window displays information for license, Medicare number, Drug Enforcement Administration or DEA number, Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare or CAQH number, and NPI details of the provider. Credentials vary based on provider type and specialty. So to modify credentials, edit the end date of the current record, allow the change to be processed, and then add the new credential. Only use inactivate if the credentials were entered incorrectly. So if we were going to add our NPI, we would enter in our NPI information here, and here's where we would upload any applicable attachments. The next window we have to look at is our Other Information window. The Other Information window displays information such as certification details, so specialty, certification type, etc., and language details. So if we scroll down here, we have our language table. If we needed to add a new language, we would select Create New, and then the applicable language from the drop-down menu. Also with certifications, we would click the tab for our certification table. We would create new, and our Add Certification box would appear. The next window we're going to take a look at is our Disclosures window. The Disclosures window contains information related to managing employee associations, enabling practice owners to disclose any managing employees within their practice, owner associations, managing owner information for the service location ID, including ownership percentage and provider ownership, subcontractor associations, managing subcontractor information for any additional business relationships tied to a provider who owns an interest or share. Ownership changes, the percentage interest of all owners must add up to exactly 100% with requested changes. Adjust other current owner percentages and/or adjust the end date for another owner's interest to remove ownership to ensure that the final total is 100%. So generally, attachments are not required. However, uploading documentation to support your request, such as the description of why a new owner is being added, may expedite the approval process. So note that all requested new owners will be screened before the request is accepted. So owner credential details are not needed. Now, if we were going to add a new owner association, we would go down to our table and click Create New from the top right-hand corner, and our Add Owner Association box appears. We would fill out the required information, fill out our required disclosure information, and here is our percentage interest, effective date, and end date, and we would upload any applicable attachments. The next window that we have available to view is the MCO Network window. When the Managed Care Organizations, or MCOs, network window displays a list of the MCOs the provider has contracted with. You may submit a request, including any required attachments, to contract with another MCO. All MCOs will be listed in the MCO contracts table. Active contracts will have a participation status of yes. If we were going to create a new MCO request, we would click Create New here, and this will create a participation request on the MCO portal. We would select our MCO from the available MCOs list. We would select the arrow to move it over to our selected MCOs. We would click Next. So here we have our general information window. We have our required attachments, and then we have our attachments. So I want to note that adding attachments looks the same as adding attachments to specialties, except that the requirement met column or table indicates specific attachments that are needed. So we can see here that the federal W-9 form is a required attachment, and we can see that that requirement has not been met. So to add an attachment, we would click Create New. We would select our transmission method, and then we would find our required form or required attachment type from the drop-down list and enter it there. Then we would select the form from our computer and we would upload that to the enrollment. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out, and we can see our MCO consent here. So if an MCO requests additional documentation while reviewing an MCO participation request, provider will use this section to provide the requested information. So once the MCO retrieves the documentation, the option to upload files no longer appears in the MCO network window. Our next window that we're going to take a look at is our request tracking window, and you can view the request, the transaction ID, workflow comment, and status. The status will be in process, approved, and or rejected. Use the Message Center or Live Help to inquire about your change request. Include the transaction ID for the fastest response. Some changes are immediately reflected in the provider portal, while others require approval. So when changes require approval by PRSS enrollment and management clerks, before the changes display in the provider portal, the message includes a transaction ID. Now, our next window that we may have here is our provider type window. The provider type window displays information such as Clinical Laboratories Improvement Act or CLIA information if you bill for laboratory services, durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies, or DME POS, surety bond, and accreditation information if you are a durable medical equipment or DME supplier. Hospital bed information if the facility has a maximum number of beds per patient. At this point, we are going to log out of our account. The next section we are going to go over is revalidation. All Virginia Medicaid providers are required to revalidate their enrollment information at least every 5 years. When a provider's service location has met the required revalidation criteria, a revalidation notification is sent via email or mail, depending on the provider's preference. 90 days prior to the revalidation due date, 2 notifications are sent. The first notification will contain an application tracking number or an ATN and a link to the provider enrollment revalidation page. The other will include the password. So 60-day and 30-day reminder notifications are sent if revalidation has not been completed. These notifications only include the ATN and a link to the provider enrollment revalidation page. Failure to complete the revalidation may result in termination from Virginia Medicaid. The revalidation feature enables providers to view the revalidation due date for a service location. A delegate can also view this page in the provider portal if they are assigned by the revalidation security function for the service location. Revalidation is available 90 days prior to your due date. And to access this feature, click Maintenance on the navigation menu, then select Revalidation from the drop-down menu. A hyperlink displays in the Revalidation Information section when it is time to complete the application. Click the hyperlink to access the Provider Enrollment Revalidation page. You then are directed to the Resume Revalidate Enrollment page of the Provider Enrollment Wizard. Next, it's time to see what you recall. So our first question is, how many notifications are sent for registration for Provider Portal? Is it 0, 1, 2, or 3? The correct answer is 2. Credentials are delivered in two distinct registration emails. The first email includes your user ID and hyperlink to access registration for Provider Portal. The second email includes your temporary password. Our next question: which is not a way for providers to contact the PRSS enrollment and management clerks? Is it through the Message Center, Manage My Information, Live Help, or Contact Us? The correct answer is through Manage My Information. Copies of letters sent to providers can be accessed from Provider Portal. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. They are available in resources and are to and from PRSS enrollment and management clerks. Our next question: the tabs in the Manage My Information window display according to specific enrollment types and provider types. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. Our fifth question: an authorized administrator is a group that manages the service locations associated with the individual within a group, or IG. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. Question 6. The only way to submit a new participation request to an MCO is by submitting a new enrollment application. Is this true or false? The correct answer is false. MCO participation requests can be sent from the MCO network page. Question 7. All change requests for provider information submitted through Provider Portal are immediately applied. Is this true or false? The correct answer is false. Certain items require additional processing by a PRSS clerk for approval. Question 8. It is the provider's responsibility to ensure that all of their information available in Provider Portal is kept up to date. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. Question 9. A provider can revalidate up to how many days prior to the provider's revalidation due date? Is it 10, 30, 60, 90, or 120? The correct answer is 90. Notifications are sent at 30, 60, and 90 days. Question 10. Where can a delegate locate his or her relationship code, which is used to assign the delegate to additional providers? Is it under Portal Profile Maintenance, Manage My Information, Manage Delegates, or Resources? The correct answer is under Portal Profile Maintenance. So, in conclusion of our Provider Portal overview session today, we hope you understand basic navigation of the Provider Portal. We've identified which tasks are accessed from the Provider Portal but are completed in other systems, and we've gone over how to manage provider information. So, thank you all for participating, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.